Hello, entrepreneurs. Joe DiChiara bringing you another segment of How to Win at Business. Good evening, good Sunday evening, folks. If you don't know who I am the founder of Bedrock Business Builders and Bedrock University. I am an entrepreneur, business coach that owns a New York State license to practice accounting. I am a CPA born and bred in New York. I am in the eye of the storm. Yes, I am in Flushing, New York, folks, coming to you live. I'm in the eye of the pandemic, but I'm not going to let that stop me from bringing you this important information. And tonight, I have a surprise. We are going to talk about one of my favorite subjects, which is 3 tips on how to save some time. And I'm going to share my screen. And tonight, this is going to be a short one, folks. And in the spirit of saving time, my time and your time, so I just want to get right into this. Like I said, my show is all about how to win at business, and winning is all about your why, your who, your where, how you do it with integrity, and how you never give up in business. And if you've been following me, the common theme that I try to put out there, not to be negative or anything, but business is tough. They didn't teach me that in CPA school. I knew that life was tough, but I thought business was going to be easy. Well, life is tough, and business makes it even tougher. And people get sidetracked. It's easy to get sidetracked when you're in business. Obstacles, minor, major, life stuff gets in the way, and nobody has enough time, and that's a fact. And what happens when we go into business, here's the fact, folks, and I don't care if it's a side gig or if it's a full-time profession that you're going into. Once you decide to go into business, time is not your friend. Okay, it's a constant struggle between the business owner and the clock. And the people that learn how to compress time the best, that can get the most done in the shortest amount of time, are the most likely to succeed. And that's what we want to do. We want to go into business to succeed. And what that means is making money. And unfortunately, most people go into business, they don't make any money, and they wind up going out of business. I'd say over 98% of new businesses fail, which is a pretty sorry number. And the reason, I've been able to basically pinpoint what the reason is, folks. And I'm not talking about the reasons that they talk about in like Forbes and the SBA. Those reasons for business failures are really for businesses that have been established. Okay, a lack of capital, a poor economy, too much competition, changing technology. Those rules apply to people that have already run the business gauntlet. But for a new business owner, it's a whole nother ballgame. We go by a whole nother set of rules. And it's shocking to find out that how complicated it is and how confusing it is to run a business. So we get hit with this bombardment of stuff that we have to do. And there's not enough time in the day, in the week, in the month, in the year to do everything. I like to tell people that when they start a business, there's 100 things to do, and they're all a top priority, and they're all got to be done now. Well, that ain't going to happen. So what you need to do, what my advice is, to devise a strategy that's going to help you manage your time. And there's a book I read a couple of years ago that I would highly recommend to people, and it's called The 4-Hour Work Week. Now, working for 4 hours is not in reality. It's not going to happen, especially if you're an entrepreneur like me. Because if you could do something in 4 hours, you're just going to fill up the other time with other businesses or jobs. Think about a guy like Richard Branson, who owns over 400 businesses. How does somebody get to that point? How do they even own 2 businesses or 4 businesses? I mean, but the fact is that people are doing it. So Tim Ferriss wrote this book. It became a New York Times bestseller. And I read it a couple of years ago. And one of the best things that he put in that book was the fact that he doesn't waste time watching or listening to news. Now, why is that? Well, number one, the news is always negative. And to be honest with you, right now, the way the news flows, you don't even know who to believe most of the time. So what Tim suggested, what he does is he doesn't spend any time on the news. And what he says is if anything's so important that he needs to know it, somebody he knows will tell him. And that's what happens with me. I just had a friend tell me, I'm a big baseball fan. And I just had one of my best friends call me yesterday and tell me everything I needed to know about the baseball season. I know we're not playing yet, but he said that this is what's going on. They might actually have games with nobody in the stands, if that's even possible. But the fact is that, I'll let other people spend all their time and energy disseminating the news, anything that has to do with the pandemic, with anything, the elections. So I just avoid the news altogether. But now this book is a treasure of different ideas, tips on how to outsource stuff, and just time-saving antidotes that anybody can use. And so that's Tim Ferriss. Now let me give you a couple of mine. Time-saving tip number 1, plan what you're going to do tonight. Before you go to sleep at night, have a plan set up for when you wake up and what you're going to accomplish or what you plan on accomplishing. And you would be surprised how much easier and less stressful your day will go. And you'll feel a sense of accomplishment because whenever you could tick off one of those to-do things that you were planning on, especially the night before, it's a victory. And we need victories. Time-saving tip number 2 is pretty obvious, but it's create productive routines. Now, what I mean by that is when I get up in the morning, I'm not checking my email first thing in the morning. What I do is I get up, I make my bed, I start stretching, I go through my healthy exercises, my mind stimulation, my praying, meditation, and I get ready for the day. Then I'll make breakfast, I'll do some reading, and then I'll start my day. And I found that once I started doing things in that order, everything else seems to work out during the day. So you got to have a regular daily routine, positive routine, and don't make exceptions. Don't get up one day and start checking your email, checking your text messages, because when I do that, that just throws me off completely. One of my favorite quotes is a guy by the name of Vince Lombardi, one of the greatest football coaches of all times, and he said, "You don't do things right once in a while. You do them right all of the time," and that's the truth. And the last tip that I'd like to give you is to systematize everything. you know, my girlfriend just came in yesterday. And she took apart my kitchen and she rearranged everything. And she showed me what the new system was for cooking and putting dishes away. And, you know, all of that stuff creates order and it compresses time. And so you want to systematize everything that you can. Let me give you a couple of examples of systems. This is my friend Benjamin Franklin. And what good old Ben did when he was about 20 years old, he created what he called the Moral Perfection Project. And this was basically a check on himself to keep himself in check. And the goal was that he would reach moral perfection if he was able to have a check mark in every one of these boxes for the full 13 weeks. And I like 13 because it goes into 52 weeks 4 times. So he could, and he actually kept this, he kept this system his whole life. And he never achieved moral perfection. But the point is that this is a system. And that's what I'm talking about. When people think about time management, they're thinking about how can I cut, you know, 10 or 15 minutes off my ride to work, or how can I shave half an hour off of this, or 3 minutes here. But the act of systematizing actually compresses time in ways that you might not even, you know, realize. So I came up with my own systems, and you can see over here, I call it, I have a system for my habits, my routines. I have 13 principles myself. And believe it or not, I created those principles before I even saw what Ben had. So I didn't copy off him. We just have the same mindset, let's say. And this is like what I do is I print this out and it becomes a little book. I'm looking for it now. Okay, it's over there, but I have a little booklet that I might take around with me and just check stuff off as I do it. But it's all in an effort to be organized, and that's the probably disorganization is one of the chief factors in people going out of business. And you know, that's what I want to leave you with here tonight, folks. If you want to win at business, take action, get your routines, your life, your business organized. And I'd like to invite you, if any of this stuff resonates with you, if you'd like to talk to me about setting up your own routines, your own business, how to set up your business so that you could win at it, feel free to book a free chat with me at timewithjoe.com. And that's my story. I'm sticking with it. Short and sweet tonight, over and out, and I will see you tomorrow night. Thank you.